Phase Zero, back at it again for another bonus episode. I'm your host today, Jenna Anderson, and joining me are Aaron Perrine.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And Jamie Jirac.
Oh, we're down to 3 again, BD. We miss you.
We miss BD very much. We were going to do our Deadpool 2 episode this morning, but BD is on some sort of adventure in New York, as he just recently hinted at on Twitter. So he, we will be doing this episode instead, and we will be doing Deadpool 2 in the very near future. So luckily it worked out perfectly because some news kind of broke over the weekend that I figured could be a perfect kind of launching pad to have a conversation. So according to Jeff Snyder, they are currently hunting for a writer for the MCU X-Men reboot. He says that Rafe Judkins and Michael Leslie are two of the people who are on the shortlist. He doesn't know if there are other people on the shortlist beyond that, and that a decision might be made by Memorial Day. And so Judkins is known for The Wheel of Time. I think he's showrunning the God of War show at Amazon. Michael Leslie co-wrote The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I know Jamie and I are very much fans of on this panel. So it sounds like they're getting momentum and they have writers. How did we feel about that first?
Well, Rafe Judkins also wrote 43 episodes of a little show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
That's right.
I am certainly pro that choice. And I also, I do not watch Wheel of Time, but I did love The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I thought it was a great adaptation, and we're talking about adaptations. So I think that's pretty smart, pretty wise. I'm into it. We'll see. I don't know. Oh.
So succinct. That's basically how I feel too, because I just, for the last 2 days after the news came out, I'm dreading doing this exact podcast because of just the overwhelming chorus from the internet of just let the 97 people do anything dealing with X-Men. I'm just like, y'all in the fandom are really trying to kill some of these creators, man. They want what's the two Loki dudes, what are their names, Aaron Moorhead and Benson, to do every single Marvel movie. They should just do all of them, no matter what. It should be them or the Russos doing all of it. Just put it into their veins, like put them on an IV drip like Masahiro Sakurai and just let them cook, which I'm just like, that's not healthy. Also, get a lot of unintentionally same feeling product that way. A lot of same feeling shows and movies when the same creative minds are behind everything. Also, if anybody really believes that the MCU's X-Men is going to have the 14 main characters that X-Men 97 does, I don't know what to tell you. We failed that test back in Eternals, guys. They're not doing that again.
We'll talk about that. We'll definitely talk about like what we want the roster to look like, how many characters, how few characters, because definitely there are a lot lot of options. I will also say the chat is asking about the Agatha thing that happened this morning. No, we are saving that for Wednesday's show because who knows what's going to like continue with that situation between now and Wednesday. We will definitely talk about it on Wednesday's show.
I just want to say that by the time I woke up and saw somebody had tagged me in whatever it was deleted. So I have no idea what it was. I just know. Fun. Yeah, so you'll have to tell me later.
You have to like memento yourself. You have to figure out in reverse like what happened.
Yeah.
Jamie wakes up with an Agatha tattoo and doesn't know where it came from. Imagine.
That's how we'll find out the real title. It's like Jamie wakes up and it's like tattooed on her body. And like, oh, that's the actual title.
Catherine Hahn jumping out of your window. Like, come back in October. Like, I would be like, yay, she finally got to meet her again. Under way less happy circumstances. Yeah.
But no, so keeping on the X-Men train. So it sounds like they might make a decision by Memorial Day. They might announce the decision by Memorial Day. Like, who knows at this point? If anything, if they don't announce it by then, that seems like an announcement that's primed for San Diego Comic-Con. But so that kind of begs the question, first of all, when should this movie be released? If they're working on it to the point now of like hiring a writer, do we think it would be before Secret Wars, after Secret Wars, or like maybe in the middle between like Avengers 5 and 6?
My thing is that right now, the way that they are leading us to Secret Wars is with the old cast. That's where we're at. And at this point, I think it would be weird to squeeze in a new cast. And I would assume that's what they're doing. I would assume we're getting a new cast finally. So for me, I say afterwards and then lead to Avengers versus X-Men maybe or something. But but at this point, because of what Secret Wars is, to me, it makes more sense to just fly out, and Aaron does not agree. I just get rid of these people for the last time, because that's what they've been doing. Why else would you put Kelsey Grammer at the end of the Marvels? I don't know. It would be cool, but I just don't know if we have the time. Aaron, why don't you agree with me based on?
No. I think that's facts. It's just the internet is dumb. So like we're gonna be sitting there talking about who cares about any of the stuff that happened for the last 3 years? Just do X-Men and boot whatever. Like I know you guys are already shooting Thunderbolts and Sebastian Stan's hair looks amazing, but kick that out of the way and just do X-Men instead. You know, that's what the read is going to be from a ton of the people who comment and consume the media we work in. But I kind of agree. The can line is effective. You know how you go get people's butts in the seats with just weird nostalgia plays in the trailers for the movie. That's what's going to get people to show up. I told you, the hero image of Robert Downey Jr., Maguire, and Jackman standing together will do more for the movie and people's psyches than anything else that happens around the film. So just do that. Don't even worry about who's going to play young Cyclops or whatever, you know? It doesn't really matter. Let's not even get into who's going to play Wolverine after Jackman. An impossible task. I don't envy. It's just Sarah just chain smoking at Marvel headquarters like, how do I do this? How do I get this done? So yeah.
See, I partially subscribe to the theory that like we might know that answer by the time Deadpool and Wolverine comes out, because like I know people have theorized that we might see the MCU's Logan somewhere in that movie, but like we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm definitely in the camp that it should be after, and I think that dovetails into the next question that I was going to ask, which is it very likely seems like the Fantastic Four is going to be set in another Earth, and then that is going to be a part of the plot point of like integrating them into the MCU at some point in time. We could be proven wrong, but like we've had this discussion ad nauseum on the show. It definitely seems like that's the case. Should the X-Men reboot also be set on another Earth? I personally am of the mindset of yes, and I think that if you either released the movie immediately after Secret Wars or like in the interim between 5 and 6 and then used Secret Wars as a springboard to bring the team into the MCU, that might be the way to go about it. But what do you guys think?
I think that what's interesting is because I do think it would make more sense on another Earth too, because like there's so many questions. Where have they been? Has it been dormant and now the mutant gene's coming? But what I'm stuck on is Kamala. And in Miss Marvel and her being a mutant, like they made that change for a reason. Like they made that decision for a reason, or did they? Like were they thinking that far ahead? I feel like they had to have been. They played the music. So I feel like I agree. I think it would make more sense. It would give more breathing room, and we need that right now. But I don't know because I'm really hung up on that one thing.
I feel like there's a way that they could make that make sense. Like they've certainly done that with plot points and with post-credit scenes and stuff in phases 4 and 5. I think that like they were mainly doing that because that was the root of what they wanted Kamala to be when she was created in the comics, and they like couldn't do that at the time. And so then this was kind of leading the charge to do it now. And I'm sure at the time they probably thought like their plans for the X-Men were very different than what they are ultimately ended up being. But yeah, Aaron, what do you think?
I think that having them set on a different Earth is a cleaner way to get to Avengers vs. X-Men than whatever the heck happened in that event. Like like a lot of that is like, I just want the name of that.
Yeah.
You can take or leave the other stuff. I guess now you probably have to have Rogue throw Captain America's shield like a frisbee for those of us to laugh at it and like giggle at it, and for Christine to put it on our socials and get 1 million impressions on it. But yeah, that's a way cleaner way to do it. I don't know if they would do that. Because like you said, I'm pretty sure as I have more faith in like what was the long-term plan than most people would. There's no reason for the amount of times that freaking 97 theme has been played and all this stuff if they weren't going to have them be a part of it relatively soon. Also, yes, getting Kelsey Grammer to get into the dot suit and do that for 5 seconds seems like it was leading somewhere that unfortunately we're not probably going to get to see it in its original context now. So I that would be interesting. Also hilarious. Once again, I'm a fan of anything that Monkey's Paws, Brandon Davis. I am a fan of any of that. So when he's like, we don't care about these other universes, they just keep putting the fun stuff in another universe. His princess is in another castle constantly. No notes.
I will say, because the chat is also asking about Namor, because
He
he
is.
canonically is a mutant along with Kamala. I think there's a difference between being a mutant and being an X-Man. I think that like the X-Men as the team and like the larger mutant kind as we know them in the comics, I could see them being introduced into the MCU from another Earth, but like we could still have mutants in the main MCU Earth.
The standoff between a like Namor and freaking Pedro Pascal, Reed Richards, and whoever they got playing Cyclops, be it Mars or whatever, would be hysterical. It would be so funny, but I don't know if that's where we're going. I have no clue, but it would be very fun. He's very oppositional. He's not going to be friends with them just because we're the same, like we're mutants. You're not from here. You don't go here.
Well, and so then that kind of goes into my next question, which is how should the X-Men as a team, presumably the cast of the movie that they would be writing in the near future, how should they be established? Because I have seen every single option ranging from it's just the original 5 in their classic Jack Kirby suits, or it's the 80s roster, it's the 97 roster, it's the modern day roster, it's Krakoa. So like, what do you guys think?
I mean, I think, like you just said, there are a million options, right? The X-Men have been around doing stuff for so long. And my thing is just something, it doesn't matter to me. I would say just make it different. Don't do the same thing you've done in the movies, or even we'll talk a little bit more about X-Men 97, I think, later in the episode. But like, I'm seeing a lot of X-Men 97 is perfect. Just do that in live action. It's perfect. I don't need to see the exact same recreation of X-Men 97 in live action. Maybe some nods, like, yeah, Rogue throwing the shield would be funny to see in live action, of course. Some little sprinkles, but that show is already perfect. Like, why do it again? I think that's boring. There are a million X-Men things to do, and I don't have a preference. I just want it to be different. And I think that's going to be hard for some film audiences, people who have never read a comic or maybe have never watched an animated show and they only know the other movies. It's going to be, I think, hard to contend with of like, we're doing something different, but why would you want to watch the same thing again? Like, even though, yeah, the 2000s were different and they were putting them in the black suits and everything, it's still like, I think we all agree that we don't want a Wolverine focus. He does not need to be our main character. So I think that like think outside the box, and I hope that based on how good X-Men 97 is, I have faith that they're going to make good decisions at Marvel when it comes to these characters.
Aaron, what do you think?
You know, the approach being different. I've wanted the original 5 thing for forever. That would be really interesting. It's one thing we've never done. You know, it's one of the only things we've ever done. I also now in my brain am hoping for like when you do stunt cast the inevitable weird other Earth the original X-Men cast are from, it is basically just Krakoa and we don't explain a lot from the audience, or they're living on like asteroid M, but it's obviously supposed to be Krakoa. That'd be great. But you know, we'll cross those bridges when we get there inevitably as the can line improves. Like, you know, when we get, you know, Magneto back sometime in Deadpool Wolverine, I'm like, okay, so the door is fully open. We can just do all the old people and you can have everybody get up and cheer. But having something different, having a different approach would be really interesting. But I also know from how the last 3-4 years have gone, if you look at it on a chart, I know some of our fans are big on charts, big on graphs, big on numbers. Like, people like seeing the stuff that they already know done again. They're not really despite what you heard right around Endgame, when the dominant critique of the MCU was none of these things are different, they're all the same. And then they became different, and now they're not the same as they used to be. Please just give us the same things we used to be. So you really can't, you're in a no-win situation. Just put Jackman in it so that people can not complain about that.
I agree with both of you. I'm conflicted because part of me would want the original 5, would want them to like start from the ground up and like build everything, but I also feel like that would then take so long to get to the full breadth of like what the X-Men are capable of right now in the comics, and like the degree to which like everybody has their favorite character in the X-Men comics. Some of them are the weirdest characters who I never expect to see on screen in any capacity, but there are still so many like B-listers or like characters who came in later that like deserve to be seen. And so I would love it if like it is a thing, especially if it were on another Earth, they could like integrate all of that history and build that in and then have it be where everyone's around. Aaron, what's up?
Oh, I'm just laughing at the idea of like, it's like, oh yeah, Kevin Feige strolls out. It's like, we like this preview for you guys, like Dupe, 5 episode miniseries.
Honestly.
Yeah, just like, sure.
Dupe and like Yeah, Dupe and Eyeboy, and like there are so many. Everybody has a favorite mutant, and like it would just be fun to see some of them pop up in ways that like we never could have gotten in the Fox movies. But yeah, so
Chris wants gold balls in the chat.
yeah,
Okay,
because
all right, Chris.
Gold Balls would be great. If we did do the Krakoa era, Gold Balls does play like a very pivotal role in how the Krakoa era works. So like that would be very funny. But yeah, so on the topic of the Fox movies, we're going to take a quick 1-minute break, and we're going to talk about like what this reboot should borrow, if anything, from 97 and from the Foxverse. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back to Phase Zero. In our X-Men conversation about the X-Men reboot, the next question I have is, what should this reboot borrow, if anything, from the X-Men media that we already have, especially from 97, considering how successful it's been, and a lot of the Fox movies and the successes of them?
Whew. I mean, good, be good. I honestly, when it comes to X-Men 97, it's like it understands the X-Men so well. And that is all truly anyone can ask, right? Like understanding these characters. And for me though, give me the drama. I want the drama in live action more than anything. The romantic drama, give me a soap opera in live action and I will be thrilled. And there are so many ways that they can do that. But in terms of specific storylines, I mean, no, don't just make a movie and then kill Gambit. I mean, that's boring. Like we just saw that. I already had those emotions, like kill somebody else and make me cry. But again, as Aaron said, but we can still have Rogue throwing the shield. Like give us some. I would love Morph. I would love, especially like a non-binary character. That'd be awesome. And I love how much Morph gets to shine in this show, and so that would be cool.
I completely agree with you. My answer was going to be like the relationship drama in the soap opera, because I also feel like we've had this conversation on the show of like how romances are handled in the MCU and how they're kind of few and far between. I think like the X-Men, as 97 has shown, and as the comics certainly show, there are so many ways that you can pair off individual characters and just set the internet on fire. And it's like, that is something that the Foxverse only barely started to really get into. So I would love it if we just go fully into the relationship drama. But yeah, Aaron, what about you?
Oh man, that would be fun. Also, it is a stealth marketing tactic in this here social media age to have the fans do all of the talking about the movie for you by just doing that and leaning into it. God, I think there are like good bones with all of this stuff, but the best part about 97 to me is the way that it remixes and picks and chooses what parts of the legacy to put in there. It's not strictly a adaptation of just the Claremont run or just Morrison stuff or Jonathan Hickman stuff or whatever. It picks and chooses. And I feel like the strongest Marvel material picks and chooses its spots where it really wants to hammer home something that the fans who have read the comics for a long time will appreciate, and then also does its own thing and exists as its own thing. Because Marvel Unlimited is not inexpensive, but it's not like crazy expensive. You go read the books. The books have a bunch of wonderful stuff. Bo DeMaio wants you to go read X-Men 25 right now. Like I would like to see not just we gonna go ahead and color and paint and like connect the dots of a comic run. Just, you know, like you said, I think Jamie's really right. The strength of the writers and why so many people are banging on the table for them to like do this is that they understand the characters. And I guess to me, it'd be like, yeah, man, go with 5. Choose your 5. And until we get through that wicket, is going to be 5 until y'all can be trusted to expand it out. Because we can't.
So, to your point about kind of storylines and amalgamating various things, are there any kind of conflicts or individual storylines that we would want to see? Not necessarily like a direct adaptation, but something we would like to see folded in. My answer is honestly like Inferno and Mr. Sinister, because I know that was always the carrot on a stick dangled for the Foxverse that never ended up happening. But I do think there's a way to do it in the MCU that could be really, really fun.
I'm ready to thirst over live action Sinister. Give it to me. You know. Honestly, like not specific storylines, but like I'm Jamie Jirak, so I have to say this or I wouldn't be living my truth. The comics get gay, and not in a hinty subtle way, in like a they're gay way. And like I'm ready for them to finally do that, because like nobody, like there are gonna be people that get mad because people get mad about stuff anyway, but like you can't get mad about it's the comic. That's what's on the page. Like they're not just doing it for the quote woke agenda. That is what is in the comics. So that I would like to see my boys kiss each other is the facts, and I'm not afraid to spout that into the world. Feige.
Preach.
Jamie Jirak wants Scott to offer Logan a churro. News at 11.
Listen, Jonathan Hickman laid that subtext in there.
Really
that is
did.
basically
Really
as canonical as it can possibly be. So like there's one panel in like Hoxpox of the 3 of them together that predates Challengers in a lot of ways.
Right, exactly. Listen, your influence, Jonathan Hickman. I really, man, if you're building this allegory to be what I imagine an allegory about the X-Men would be in 2024, Sinister is a really good choice. And it's also something we've never really done in any real substantive way in the actual live action movies. So I would be down for that. I think that would be really, really affecting. I don't know if you could do like, you can't do like Bastion or like Onslaught. No.
I think that's part of why 97's doing it, is because like it fits the lore of
Oh,
97,
yeah.
but it's also like this is something that the MCU probably is never going to touch, and like they recognize that. So
yeah, I mean that's really the strength of like the whole animation thing too, is that they can gallop through a decade of whatever happened. Like Goblin Queen was 2 episodes. It was 2 episodes. Like Jamie Lovett was in the corner looking like Smithers the morning the episode came, because he's like, "How do you do that?" Like 2. I'm like, it's the 97 effect, guys. So it is what it is. The funny thing is that you get all this stuff about people wanting like the adult, like mature subtext of it, and then you see like how any mature approaches to subject matter exist, and it makes me sad that we might not get it. But hope springs eternal. Who knows? It's the X-Men. It's different, I've been told.
So I know everyone on this panel has their personal favorite characters in the X-Men. So who are like a couple that you can think of that like you personally, or just for the sake of the narrative, like you would really want to see in this reboot?
I mean, a lot of my favorites have gotten a lot of screen time already. Like, you know, I love Rogue, but I also feel like Rogue, as much as I love Anna Paquin, that's not really the Rogue that we, you know, it's not the same Rogue. But also, it's like she has gotten a lot of time, and it's hard because, like, I'm a villain girl. Like, how do we do Mojo in live action? Give me like Jabba the Hutt kind of a situation with Mojo, and that would be amazing. I also like, I would really love to see Dazzler, and that is why I am not like as on the Taylor Swift train, only because if she does make a cameo as Dazzler, she's not going to be able to be Dazzler all the time. She has a lot going on. She's a busy lady, and if she does it, it's going to be really hard for literally anyone else to follow that, because of the fandom of Taylor, which is understandable. Like, and that is my only hesitation of that cameo, because I want the character to be around more.
I think there's a way to do both. I think that like as a Swiftie and as someone who's also in the Marvel fandom, I do think like a lot of the Swifties would be fine with somebody else playing the character. Like they don't follow her acting projects as closely as they follow like everything else. So I think that if they recognize like this is just a cameo that's in a movie for the context that it's in, like that is more than enough. And I
don't know.
John
know. Krasinski fans are struggling with
that's a completely different ballgame, though. I feel like people were much more pressed about that. That was a whole separate thing. But I have faith that like because I desperately want to see like Dazzler factor into the proper X-Men reboot too, and I think that there's a way to do that and have your cake and eat it too. I think that that's definitely possible.
I love that positivity, Jenna. Love it.
I have
Get
to.
it
I
out
have
into
to
the
keep
universe.
it. I have to keep it. I have to manifest. But yeah, Aaron.
Jenna gonna lead us Earth when the next reconfiguration of the tour is just all thing round disco ball. She gonna perish. We gonna lose her. It's unfortunate. Yeah, so someone, I think it's Jeffrey Lee in the chat, said Kitty, and that's somebody who hasn't been served by these, and she's like huge. You look at the solicits and stuff now, and it's like, oh yeah, like that's a core person that hasn't gotten a ton of focus in some of these. That would be an interesting person. There's so many characters. Like there's a lot of y'all. There's too, like I said, there's too many X-Men. There's too many mutants. But
I'm shocked you didn't say Storm.
Yeah, I mean, but she was in like all of, and also you got the same problem because at least from my experience, you'll get held up to Hallie, and that's hard. Have you seen the thirst traps on the internet? That's hard. That's tough. That's tough. It's so hard. It's so difficult. I don't envy whatever darker complected actress gets cast in this at one point, be they Janelle Monáe or otherwise, from what you hear in the trades. Yeah. Oh, Jamie hadn't seen that. Good.
Oh, I did. Let me tell you, because I found a tweet from 2019 where I tweeted, put Janelle Monáe in the MCU. I've been banging that drum for 5 years, but I saw one tweet that was like, everyone's saying Storm, and someone said Mystique, and I was like, oh, I actually think I like that even better for Janelle Monáe. But
pretty good.
But anyway, I have been wanting to see Janelle Monáe in the MCU for so long. I don't care who she plays. I will lose my freaking mind if she is an X-Man or anyone. If she just walks across the screen, I will die. So.
I ain't gonna be sitting next to you. That's all.
That's okay. Aaron's gonna lose a limb.
Yeah. I'm like, oh no, I have a robot arm. Surprise, Sebastian Stan. Wow. God. Oh,
but
man.
yeah, I agree with all the characters that y'all said. I want also Emma Frost to be done properly because I feel like these movies have not even remotely gotten close to the extent. I would love it if we do bake in a bunch of the history and we get into the team as like multiple generations in, if she is just co-leading the X-Men like she has in the comics, or at least she's like running a school for mutant kids, and like that is a huge part of her story because I feel like she is a character that, like the internet would love her and they don't even really know it yet. So I think that there's the potential to do that.
My favorite Emma is like good guy Emma because she's still Emma, but fighting on that side. And like I don't need like a whole arc of her being in like Hellfire and getting in, and then all of a sudden, okay, let's just start her off on that side because I would love that.
And so y'all mentioned kind of Janelle Monáe a little bit. Do you have any fan casts off the top of your head for any X-Men, not necessarily even the characters that we've mentioned?
The internet's been saying it, and I can't get Keke Palmer as Rogue out of my head. Every time I see it on the internet, I'm like, she would be so good in that part. And then somebody said Austin Butler as Gambit, which like the idea of making him do another accent is so funny. But I think the two of them would really, really vibe nicely. I think they would have good chemistry. But also just the jokes about the accent is really is really where I'm sticking it. But I saw a photo the other day of Kristen Stewart with like cards, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
gender been given, maybe, I don't know. So but yeah, like Keke as Rogue is like my number one dream fan cast of all the things. I wish I could say I invented it myself, but obviously she's dressed up as her for Halloween. She knows what the people want. I think that she would be awesome.
I've come around to the Austin Butler thing. I want him in the DCU selfishly, but like if he were in the MCU, I do think something like Gambit would be super duper fun, and like he would totally crush it. But yeah, Aaron, what do you think?
What's already been announced over DC that he would be in?
Something in the future, like not necessarily anything yet. I have like half a dozen different characters off the top of my head that like eventually would join the DCU that he could play. So, but that's a whole off mic conversation. But yeah, I
don't know. I like going into these things and just getting what the professional prescribes to me. Like, I never would have picked that man for Galactus in a million years, and it makes
Yeah.
all the sense in the world. And he wasn't no fan cast. There was nobody on the internet banging the drum for that, but he does the voice. So that's good.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see. Like, obviously, we're all very jazzed about the possibilities of this movie. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, at Comic-Con, maybe before what it ultimately ends up taking shape and what it ends up looking like. But yeah, Jamie, do you have anything you want to leave the listeners with today?
Oh, thank you so much for joining us on this Monday. And I really want to shout out Jenna for piecing this episode together. Some of us weren't paying attention to what we were doing today and watched Deadpool 2 last night. And so if it wasn't for Jenna keeping us in line, we would be a real mess. So thank you so much, Jenna.
Peeking back behind the curtain. Again, like I said off mic, I thank you so much for watching Deadpool 2 early. Like, I appreciate it so much. Aaron, do you have anything to plug?
Oh yeah. So over at eolcomicbook.com, our buddy Chris Killian talked to freaking Chris Pratt in front of a very, very hairy wall about being coming back to the MCU and being in the DCU, and it sounds like you're gonna get your Star-Lord back. You're gonna come get your love. I don't know when. The best part of the interview, funny enough, is them like rubbing that very, very fuzzy wall. And I'm not joking. That is not a euphemism. That is really what happened. So go watch that on comic.com and on the socials. Please do.
Go watch that. We will be probably talking about that on Wednesday's show, but yeah, go watch it beforehand. Thank you everybody so much for joining us. I think this was a very fun bonus episode. Jamie is on social media at Jamie Chirac. Aaron is on social media at Summit Lake Hornet. I'm on social media at Hey It's Jenna Lynn. We are all on social media at Phase Zero CB. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. We will be back on Wednesday with another standard normal show. We'll be talking about the X-Men 97 finale, the Galactus news, Chris Pratt, and so many other pieces of news. So definitely tune in for that.
Agatha.
Yeah, and Agatha. We will definitely be talking about Agatha. Play the show for your mom, play the show for your dog, and we will see you on Wednesday. Thank you guys for joining us.